right, let me there. Hopefully everything's working good. Great to see you, Tolemykus. Yeah, I love that quote. I think it's a real good one there. God has a special providence for fools, drunks in the United States of America. Otto von Bismarck. Also great to see you, Charles Zatora. Harold Bosma. Yeah, you were saying that you're going to be hanging out with your yearly friends there. So you're not going to be very responsive. Great to see you, William Aarons. Yes, I just grabbed your ATA and obviously haven't looked at it. Great to see you as well, Brian R. Smith and Corvinus Wargaming. Oh my gosh, you lucky bugger. Greetings from Poland. Hope you're having a good time there. And WNO and Meandering Mike as well. Great to see you. And WNN, hope you're doing well. All right, so let me get straight off to the narrative. We'll see how this one goes. As per usual, I usually say that. So I'm going to share the screen. Yeah, kind of. I feel like just you shush. Yeah, I feel like I don't really have a heck of a lot of stuff today. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to get rid of your comments here. Hold on here, Harold Bosma. So please let me know how you guys are doing. Hopefully, you guys have been doing pretty good since I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Like I said, I'm just going to go through the little bit. This thing here about Liberia was severely affected by the Great War. And that was from last week's thing on the 2-day symposium. They were talking about neutrality. I'll show you the topics that they were discussing for the war and morality symposium. But it was interesting to find out that Liberia was a neutral when the war started, and yet just due to the fact of their ports and whatnot, and that they were trading amongst both powers, just the way things worked out, they ended up having to actually declare war on Germany just so that way they can economically survive afterwards. I just thought that was pretty neat. Also, that the plane, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago in that video there, the Imperial War Museum's thing that I'm supposed to embed, but I don't. And they were saying that it was a Tobe plane. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. And I was like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I checked it. I'm pretty darn sure it's an Albatross. I don't know if we're going to get into it. I'm not trying to be a smart aleck or whatever thing about looking at stuff like that. But I was like, it's good to, I want to know if I'm learning as well. So there you go. Update on World War I related games anybody's playing. I'd love to know. I know that Gamers with Coffee have just started. They did an intro video, and I think I haven't watched the second video of an actual playthrough of I think it's Fokker D7 going up against the SPAD 13 or something like that. And here's the question. It's just because I finished reading. I think I was mentioning that I just finished reading a knife on a knife edge by Holger Afflerbach, and I'm just going to say it is. I really recommend that book. It's an awesome book. And this is at the tail end, where that's why I'm bringing it up for the discussion question. Did the Entente have more to do with bringing about the rise of the Bolshevik Russia and the October Revolution than the Central Powers did with them sending Lenin to Russia? Now, it sounds a bit weird, maybe in the sense of like, well, what the hell are you talking about? They were the Central Powers were the ones that sent Lenin off to, shuttled them off to Russia and whatnot, and caused all kinds of grief. But from what I've been reading in this book as well, is that Russia did want to actually set up a separate peace way before the October Revolution kicked in. And actually, Lenin was petrified that was actually going to happen. So he was like super duper happy that the Entente were kept trying to force Russia to stay in the war. And so anyways, that's why I brought it up. Big Bertha Bingo, a couple of weeks ago, I was mentioning that it was number 57, the Battle of Mahiwa, and it was in German East Africa. The British did get their asses kicked, but unfortunately, it was a Pyrrhic victory, if you want, for Leto Vorbeck's forces. He took a significant number of casualties, and doesn't have a lot of people to go, to begin with. So it's not like you can keep just recruiting people left, right, and center. Now, officially this week, when I found out about the week that was, is that this week, the Battle of the Somme ends. So technically, I was saying that when the Battle of the Somme ends, that was going to be the end of round 3. I'll go. Some people did get points here. So Tolemykus and Brian R. Smith, you both got a point this week for what Cherami is going to bring in for the Big Bertha Bingo. So I'll bring that in a minute. Hold on, I'm going to pop on Corvinus Wargame these things. In one of my courses, we had to read this concise history of the Russian Revolution by Sheila Fitzpatrick. Before the war, Lenin seemed very pessimistic about revolution in Russia, according to the book. There you go. Maybe I should have left it on a little bit longer. Yeah, yeah, Corvinus Wargame. It was fascinating to see how all these, like all the interplay. I'm just saying it's only from one book, but this guy is like, what a book is what I got to say. So hold on here. I'm trying to get. I don't want to get too discombobulated, which I am being right now. So let's get back to what I wanted to make sure I'm. Okay, so we're going to get straight to the Big Bertha Bingo battle. I can pop that into the banners. Hold on here. And it's number 74, 1918, the Battle of Tadanois, or the Second Battle of the Marne, from what I was looking up, which is kind of neat because based on the BGG Game of the Week that I wanted to do with Kaiserschlatt, or whatever it's called, by the Spence and Gable game, that's about the Ludendorff offensive in 1918. I just finished attending a talk on the Ludendorff offensive there a couple of weeks ago, and that battle is part of like the Allied counterattack, whatnot. So I thought that was kind of neat that popped in. Yep. So Brian R. Smith and Tolemykus, you both got a point there. I might as well start into the who or what am I in World War I, and let's go with the first one here. I'm going to make sure I didn't, it's just as per usual. So here's your first clue. I was born in Carcassonne. Who am I? Obviously. So there you go. And I'm going to go back to showing the. No, I still got it here. Okay, good. So here we go. Also, community contributions. I'm going to hopefully show these quickly, but they're in the sources and links. Who is the Piper of Los? Hold on here. I'll go and grab the. Yeah, I feel really discombobulated today. I don't know if it's because it's a week off or whatever. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Hans Tuber. You're going to get a point. And as per usual with you, Meandering Mike, I'm not sure if you're being sarcastic or not, because your history stuff is a little like a notch above me. So that's what I'm going to say. Anyways, there. Hold on here. I got to get back to this. Eric says, Herman Luckman, you're going to get a point. And great to see you as well. Hold on here. You're going to get a point. I'll pop in the second clue. Hold on. I initially commanded the 6th Corps of the French Third Army, and I put up stubborn resistance against the Germans in the Battle of the Ardennes. Oh my gosh, there's a lot more. Corvinus Wargaming says, Marshal Pétain, you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And oh, great to see you, Zoe Dufour. Oh my gosh. Hold on here. You got, both WNN and Brian R. Smith, you got it. You got it. I'm absolutely dumbfounded how fast you guys got Maurice Sorey. I am just blown away. Holy Moses, that is wild. I did not expect that at all. Yeah, great to see you, Zoe Dufour. Hopefully you're doing well. And there we go. I'm going to pop you in there very quickly. Wow, I'm extremely impressed. I did not. I thought I was getting a bit too difficult, but as you know, with the Salonika stuff, and right now there's so much action going on down there. I thought might as well pop him in there. I did not get along with Joffre, and he sacked me as soon as I made a mistake. Yeah, there's a lot of political. Here we're going to get into it. My sacking caused an uproar between some French politicians and the military, and almost caused the collapse of the French government. I think it was kind of like a concession, but they wanted to keep him out of France, kind of thing, because of I guess his connections or whatever. So they sent them off to the Balkans, and to help the political coalition go. I answered my own stuff here. I was given command of the French forces in Salonika, and in 1917 I became commander-in-chief of the Allied Army of the Orient. All right, and I'm going to hide that. I'm going to go back to the comments. Francois Etienne de Kellerman. I'm a century late. There you go. But anyways, hold on here. I gotta get some people some points. WNN 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's the last week, like I said. So I don't think did. Oh, I think Meandering Mike's gonna get it because yep. So hold on here. Yeah, but yeah, we'll do the final count at the end. But I don't think no, because you would have been. Oh, you're close, Brian R. Smith. You're about 5, maybe 6 points off. But so that'll be that. All right. So oh yeah, the other things I wanted to show. Hold on here. I'm not looking at the right thing. Oh yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a minute because I think I popped it on here. Hold on here. I got to get to here. So yeah, I popped these things in here. The Grog Shed loves popping in things to share with you guys. Yeah, I'm pretty darn sure that Meandering Mike gets it, but just like a couple of points, like a point or two, Tolemykus. That was a dandy. Anyways, he also mentions Wings 1927. You can watch it, I think, on YouTube as well, whatever. And he also mentioned The World Crisis. Maybe we'll pop onto that quickly later. That it's a GMT game that just, I guess, made the 500 list or whatever, and it's a grand strategic game. He thought maybe you'd be interested in taking a look at that. Now, this one's 5 minutes long, guys, but I thought it also had a bit of an apt thing. We're going to go very quickly here, and then I'm going to go back to the video of the week here. Hold on here. Person names are my trivia weakness. There you go. Okay. And also, like I said, I wanted to quickly talk about that. I did pop in the book list on the community things of all the stuff that it was going on about that I've been getting through the lectures and the symposium. And also that last week we had the fireside chat, which was about your favorite Great War fiction or biography books. So I've got that. Like I said, I popped that in the community tabs. It's also going to be added on to the Mark Ruggiero Great War bibliography. So no worries there. This was super nice to find. I was really touched by this. So Randy Galkey, the president of the World War I Historical Association, said, "Hey, Chris, if you want, you can advertise the live stream if you want on our newsletter. Just give us a couple of paragraphs and some pictures." I don't know how I'm going to do the pictures or whatever. But I thought, geez, that'll be nice. So we'll have our live stream advertised on their electronic newspaper newsletter. I thought that was great. So there's Checkpoint Chump. We're going to designed by Tolemykus as part of the postcards from the front by Hissy Cat. I noticed it there, so hopefully we'll go take a quickie look there. Also a map showing Monastir. Just that Monastir just got taken. Hey, William Ernst from you're back, Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, and yes, I did get your ATA. Anyways, it's just as you. That's great to connect with the story. I know. Corvinus Wargaming. I was absolutely astounded that he was like, "Hey, if you want to advertise, go for it." Well, the nice thing is Corvinus Wargaming is that the fireside chats, primarily from what I've been seeing, like there's been sometimes, like I was mentioning to Zoe Dufour last week, is that sometimes there's like the three of us. There's been just three of us, the host, myself, and one other member. It's like, so it gets a bit that way kind of thing. There was a few more of us, the last one for the fireside chat. So it's nice that way. I can start interacting a lot more and not feel so intimidated. Some of these people are like historians and whatnot. Most of them are authors, and it's just like, holy moly. Anyways, with the map showing Monastir, just due to the fact that Monastir had just been taken this week. Remember, 2 years to the day that the Serbians had taken it from the Ottomans previously. So I thought that was kind of neat. Also, I would like very quickly take a look at Flags for Peace. We've seen his site before. This guy, I think he's in the Netherlands or whatever. And he was just started off as a kid picking up all kinds of stuff out in the fields and whatnot, and set up a museum. And you can actually go and rent a cottage at his place and whatnot. But anyways, he's got a thing now. It's like $8 American. That's all it is. And they've got a huge swath of land that they're trying to put in. I think something like 15,000 flags for peace. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. Hold on here. Boink. Do you like this one? Then hopefully, I'm assuming that's what you meant. I wasn't really taking a look at what people are. Hit the like button. Let's. Yeah. So everyone puts their pants on one leg at a time, no matter who they are. Yeah. What I was going to say here, I'm just thinking, wait a minute, wouldn't this be a nice, I mean, for only $8 American, I don't know how to do, I haven't contacted the person yet, but I would love to get some flags for, in honor of Mark Ruggiero popped up there. So I thought that would be kind of nice. One of the sites that was mentioned at the 2-day symposium is the International Society for First World War Studies. I haven't signed up yet, but I'm as a member, but I'm certainly going to go to. And when I was talking to Meandering Mike earlier last Sunday, I was like, wait a minute, it just dawned on me. That's why I'm wearing my 97 shirt here. You can see that, unless you don't wear pants. Meandering Mike says yes. As it just dawned on me, I was like, wait a minute, we're in the 97th live stream, and the 97th Hungarian Landwehr Brigade has got a big significance for me. Some of you guys may remember is way back when. So this was, well, in my game would have been like October of 1914. But essentially in Galicia, might bring the spikes to the chat as per usual. Issy Cat, we were just talking about postcards from the edge. We're going to go and actually take a look, hopefully at Checkpoint Chump in a bit. Hopefully you're doing well. What the heck was I talking about? Anyways, about the 97th Landwehr Brigade. So in my game, the Russian 8th Army with Brusilov and with Ruski and the 3rd Army were barreling down towards Lemberg. They had already taken out the 2nd Army, essentially, the Austro-Hungarian 2nd Army, and they were barreling down. They were just about to envelop the 3rd Army as well. I was in a lot of flipping trouble. I'm not going to be reading. Hopefully you guys are going to be doing all your kinds of stuff there. Or reading amongst yourselves. Anyways, I had to slow them down. I knew what was going to happen, and I ended up sending this poor little. I'm going to show you. I'll stop the screen so you can see the poor little dudes that I sent here. And these guys went up against essentially 4 Russian divisions. As you can see, that's pretty piss poor. The 97th Landwehr Brigade, 1 strength point counter, pretty god awful. And I sent them to their deaths, basically towards Cernovitz and Stanislaw, due to the fact I needed to slow them down. So I used them as an enemy zone of control issue, and they got slaughtered. And it was the first time playing a game. I haven't been playing that game for ages. And I was like, geez, they're like in real life, these guys would have been like part-timers, mid-30s types of guys, never probably ever thinking they were going to see the front line. A lot of that was due to the fact that it was also just finished reading or was reading Fortress, The Fall of Shemish by Alexander Watson. He talks a lot about the part-timers and whatnot who were scared to death sitting there. We haven't even started no, we did that. Okay, so I'm good here. I'm just getting, Mike, please define what you mean by pants, just like corduroy slack jean. There you go. Okay, let's go to the video. Like I said, it's about 5 minutes long, but I think it's a bit it's a bit apt for your American Thanksgiving, which I thought was this Thursday. I was wondering why there wasn't like a big, huge brouhaha going on with you guys, and I just found out it's this week. Okay, so hold on here. I want to make sure. Please let me know if you find the video or something getting really weird. I bumped it up to 1080p, so I don't know if it's causing a lot of issues with my internet. So hold on here. I'm going to stop the screen so I can present the screen here. Like I said, it's about 5 minutes, but hopefully you guys are going to enjoy it. I'm going to get rid of me. But I can at least talk with this bits. There's some of this, but I just thought maybe you guys would like watching some of this stuff. I wear gym shorts 90% of the time, even in the winter. Meandering Mike mentions, yeah, I'm a big shorts person as well. But at work I have to start wearing. Almost at 100 live streams. Yes, Zoe Dufour. We're getting very close. Oh, good. Thanks, Brian R. Smith. Yeah, like I said, it's about 5 minutes, but they cut around up to a lot of different things. It's pretty neat. Talk about a lot of people to stare at. I love it. You're going to see in a little bit. Everybody starts pointing. It's like, yeah, I know that. The guy probably can see it too. I guess it's just human nature. I just thought it was pretty funny to watch. Look, everybody pointing. Oh, brother. Yeah, this just, I was just like, holy smokes. Yeah, I don't, I'm not sure, Brian R. Smith, if that's like down in Salonika or not. It kind of looks like it based on their helmets. Yeah, you're right. I'm wondering too if, like the patient is blind, like is blind as well. Like if that they were practicing on each other. It was neat to see too that I didn't realize that they had some kind of like the electric stuff. Oh, great! I'm glad you like this, Eric. See the way the patient looks like he's kind of not looking. So I'm wondering if they're practicing on each other. This I was really surprised to see that they were training blind soldiers there to do bandaging. I was like, whoa. Ah, this is why I was like, okay, I thought maybe you guys would like this for your American Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's really hard to find these videos like short enough. Like I'm trying to find videos like a minute or under, but like I said, I don't want to start cutting these videos or like only showing a little bit. Like I want to show it in its entirety due to the fact they're like, please embed this thing. So I don't want to start getting into that type of stuff. Yeah, Brian R. Smith. I'll see if I can find out where that where the Lewis gun, the anti-aircraft thing was taken. And it didn't take them long. Look at the amount of feathers. Holy smokes. Yeah, and this is about, no, there's a little bit more. Yeah, you get to watch them play some soccer or football. Their helmets look really interesting, I thought. You know what I mean? Like, look at that. It's oh, fantastic, William Aarons. Yeah, it's not a very deep pool. At first, I was like, I'm like, yeah, okay. You can see that. Yes, absolutely, Eric. Especially when I've been writing more about, um, like after the war, a lot of them, like just couldn't find jobs and just terrible. And then a lot of times that must have been a real treat coming up. No kidding, Corvinus Wargaming. This I thought was interesting. Okay, maybe I'm a bit morbid or whatever, but I did find it interesting that so each side has an amputee there, and it's what I find neat is it's they have opposing legs that are amputated. Like one's got the left leg and the other one's got the right leg amputated. I thought that was kind of interesting. It's almost over. And we better start getting into this stuff. I do want to go to the, like I said, the BGG Kaiserschlatt, but I also want to look at give a little shout out to Tolemykus's game and also to Hissy Cat and the postcard from the front thingamajig. All right, so I stopped that. Yeah, it's Hissy Cat. Well, let's I'll eventually show you. Hold on here. I want to get to grab the thingamajig for. I just got to find it. There we go. So I wanted you to see. I actually just downloaded your thing, Tolemykus, your game there. So pop that in here. Boink. And there you are. I'm just going to bump it up a little bit so people can see it. That's really nice, Tolemykus. I was really surprised at how much of like a lot of like it looks really nice. Well done, man. Well done. Well done. Let's get back to see if I can. There we go. Hey, I want to see that one. There we go. Nice one, man. Nice one. Okay, so we're going to stop that. Then I want to go to, okay, we're going to just show you very quickly the, no, we're going to go to the BGG. Screw that. Let's go to do some fun things. Yes, it does look good. I was really surprised, like envious. Hold on here. Okay, yeah. So this was the BGG game of the week that I picked. And there. Maybe a live play Tolemykus games. Yeah, it done right. And like I said, Eric, I'm still with the offset grids. I do have it upstairs. So so this is a Spence and Gable game. I would if anybody's got that's the second edition Excalibur thingamajig here. I'm also going to go and show you the Carrie Anderson did a review of this. This I transcribed it to a Word document so I can bump it up. It was only an ASCII text. Now the reason, let's go take a look. Now you remember they did also Tannenberg and Russo-Japanese game Mukden 1905. They did another one. Darn it, I can't remember. But you can see it's nice. That looks awesome. Registration. Holy Moses, amazing. So that's that would have been the original 1977 one. There you can see the Excalibur one. So the reason why I thought was that let's get to the, hold on here. I'm going to share the thingamajig, Carrie Anderson's thing. Got to pop it up first. There we go. Yes, Eric. For a 1977 production, I've got their Tannenberg, but I'll tell you one thing: I would really, really, really like to get that game, but I'm not paying. They have it on. They have it on Noble Knight, but like $100 Canadian to get to my house. Forget it, not happening. So here's the Carrie Anderson's review. I just thought I just wanted to show it to you very quickly because this looks like a sweet spot type of a game, like an afternoon big game for me. The way I look at it, 4 maps, 400 counters, only 8 pages of rules. I thought that was pretty neat. And like he says, only about 5 are really the real rules. And it's just the Western Front. Which is, I guess, a little unfortunate, but I mean, what do you want? And like he says, with daily turns, the game is quite long, like over 200 turns for the campaign game. Admittedly, not as whatever, but he's like the ultimate big, dumb, and fun game. And I was like, wow, that's I would really like. That's the kind of thing, just to have some fun. You know, you don't have to spend 300 years trying to figure it out. And it was interesting. This his article was written quite a while ago, and yet it's still about $100 Canadian there. Okay, so I showed you that. The other thing was, like I said, I just had that talk with the Ludendorff offensives, and also after that, I was like, what other? And, oh my gosh! And then the second Battle of the Marne, the Rock of the Marne, and all that stuff, which is all part of this thing. I was trying to connect other games. I think you have it, Hissy Cat, the Kaiser's Battle, German Offensives 1918. I think that's an S&T Strategies and Tactics magazine game, as far as I remember. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure that I'm going to the narrative because I'm all over the goddamn place. Yeah, this has just been a while. Yeah, like I said, I wanted to show you the Flags for Peace thing. Oh, and this actually, thank you very, very much, Meandering Mike. I got my copy. I got my copy delivered this week. Hold on here. Is this? So thank you very much for. That's not it, is it? No, this is the world. This is the oh, well, we'll show it to you anyways, then I might as well while we're here. So this is the game that the Grog Shed mentioned that had just gone over the 500 mark or whatever, the World Crisis, First World War in Europe. I don't know anything about it, but that looks pretty darn nice. So I screwed that up. Hold on here. I want to get to it. Where are you? Where are you? This is what I was talking about. Meandering Mike had mentioned to me on Sunday, and I'm super happy I just picked it up. And it's a lot bigger than I expected. I need to place my P500 for that. Yeah, I'm surprised it's not very expensive. It's this one. So thank you very much, Meandering Mike, for mentioning that there's a game out there when I was talking about the fireside chat with you. So I just picked up my copy of this. Europe on the Brink, and it's from, you were saying it, Reacting to History or whatever. The World Crisis looks like a monster with 13 counter sheets. Holy Jesus, jumping. Youch. But yeah, I haven't really, I just skimmed through it very quickly. But I'm super happy about this, to go and take a look at that, about the game. But this looks almost like a play-by-email thingamajigger, like you were saying, Meandering Mike. It's like an afternoon workshop or what have you. I'm going to stop the screen again so I can just see what I'm supposed to be talking about. So I did show you that. This is interesting. So so we went to there. I don't know if you guys have been there. Here. A quick question. Are there any World War I films people would like to see put up on YouTube? It's a classroom game. Thank you very much, Meandering Mike. Yes. Well, I would certainly like to see. Well, I'll pop you the ones I would like. What's if you can get? It's a horrible translated version of it. Well, I'll have to send you the titles, W and N, that I would like for sure. Okay, so did that. Hold on here. It's this here. So you guys probably have seen this site. That's where I got the Carrie Anderson review. There. So you guys have probably have seen this this place, grognard.com. Anyways, I popped it in here. Crisis 1914 seems more manageable. That classroom game thingamajig, or the other, I don't know which, whatever. But so got here. So anyways, this is why I was like, whoa, interesting. Where am I going to go here? So there. I was surprised that SPW has still has a whatever here. I was like, wow, that was rather interesting. And then I went off into here and was able to start looking into, oops, I did the wrong one. Ah, yes, Marie Suckling, that's right. And is that a Worthington game? Or is that what it is? Hold on here. No, it's this one here. There. So there, yeah. So this is where I went off to go and see if I can start finding more information on the 97th Landwehr Brigade. Thank you, Meandering Mike. The 97th Landwehr Brigade. Okay, we're at 11:34, and I am just so discombobulated today. It is not funny. Hold on here. I might as well show you this because I know that Harold Bosma's got. He says he's not going to be very. He's not going to be very responsive today due to the fact that he's with his buddies. He does a yearly reunion kind of a thing. So I'm going to go to this one so you guys can see that. But this is what he just got delivered to his door this week. So he's all like super duper ultra excited. Yeah, we've looked at this before. The Caporetto game by Andrea Brusati or whatever, Paul Hederer's friend. And that kind of got us off onto the thing. So that lucky little devil's going to have that on his table soon. That'll be nice. Okay, I'm going to hide that again. Hold on here. I just want to make sure that I'm looking at all the right stuff. Okay. Yes, let's do this. And then we're going to go off into the meat and potatoes. We'll do the week that was the ATA, William Aarons, and then we'll go off into the Wonderland stuff. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how I'm like so discombobulated today. Hold on here. All right, so we're going to show you what yeah, that's what we're going to do. Hold on here. Got to get this bigger. Present. So I'm not trying to be, no, it is. I'm being a bit of a smart aleck. So let's just go straight into the normal stuff. Yeah, so window. All right. I did want you to see this. I'm going to pop it on here. So this is from on a knife edge. Width, that's it. And as you can see here, another solution, blah, 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 they're just talking about here. And I wanted to get down here. And this is part of Wilson's speech. And I just thought, oh my God, talk about a foreshadowing of what's going to happen with the Versailles Treaty and whatnot. It's just like, whoa. Victory would mean peace forced upon the loser, a victor's terms imposed upon the vanquished. It would be accepted in humiliation, under duress, at an intolerable sacrifice, and would leave a sting, a resentment, a bitter memory upon which terms of peace would rest, not permanently, but only as upon quicksand. Only a peace between equals can last. Only a peace, the very principle of which is equality and a common participation in a common benefit. The right stand of mind, the right feeling between nations is as necessary for a lasting peace as is the just settlement of vexed questions of territory or of racial and national allegiance. Like I said, I just was like, when I was reading that, I was like, oh my God, did you ever like foreshadow what's going to happen? And as well, he mentions, Holger Afflerbach mentions this is one of his conclusions of wondering whether he believes that that there should have been a settled peace rather than what ended up happening, like a military victory in a sense. He thinks that if it had ended up being a settled peace, everyone would have looked and went, oh my God, this sacrifice was for nothing. We ended up like all these dead, and like both sides would have been that way. And he goes, perhaps then it truly would have been the war to end all wars versus what ended up happening. I just found that just absolutely fascinating. So hold on, I wanted to share that with you guys. And here's the only other thing I wanted to share on the knife edge thingamajig. Well, yeah, well, I'll show you a picture of Maurice Sarray in a minute. So I can go to this thing here. There we go. Well, it's a lot of it here, but as you can see, for the Allies, however, ending the war with a draw was always out of the question in their confidence in military. But anyways, let's get to here. This is about that question that I wanted to pose to you guys. If the October Revolution that led Russia to abandon the European post-war order was partly the result of subversive German tactics, it was to a much greater extent the product of the determination of the Western powers to keep Russia in the war, even beyond the limits of its endurance, and of liberal Russia's lack of tenacity in pursuing a peace agreement of its own. When the Allied powers refused to consider a negotiated peace that might have saved Russian democracy after the February Revolution, this dealt a catastrophic blow to any meaningful and workable post-war order in Europe, to say nothing of the future of the Russian people. Yeah, and like I said, it also goes in with your mentioning their Corvinus Wargaming, if you're still there, about when you were reading up on that, about Lenin, very pessimistic about them ever having a revolution. And, you know, like you said, he was probably jumping up and down. Oh yeah, let's take a quickie look at, show you Maurice Sarray. The guy that was causing a lot of grief with Joffre and ends up getting sent down to the Balkans and whatnot. So that's him. Seems like a smart cookie, but from also what I've been reading is that the Bolsheviks really needed Russian soldiers and sailors radicalized by war experience for their revolution. And interesting, Corvinus Wargaming, I don't know if you know, but one of the big stars for the Reds is Alexei Brusilov. He ends up joining the Soviets, so they, which is pretty wild. Okay, so I'm going to go back to here. Hold on, I just want to see if there's other pictures before we go off into Wonderland here. No, like I said, oh, I did want to show the Balkans. That's right. Oops. So let's hold on here. All right. So there we go. And then I can go to this. So this is so what I'm going to show you is this is from the book, the map I'm going to show you. This is where I got it from, and it's this. It's just because. Well, we're going to read it over there. The Allied offensive on the Salonika front in 1916 was delayed as the result of a Bulgarian attack, which was eventually beaten back in time for the planned assault to begin in September. The offensive did not achieve the success that had been hoped, but saw the recapture of Monastir. Oh, yeah, and on a side note, oh, I'm just going to pop this because it's huge. WNN says the revolution was always going to happen. It had nearly happened at many times before. That was the first time revolution in Russia at this time is yes. And I was talking to Meandering Mike about it earlier in the week, and I was rather stunned when I found out that there was some movement towards even like perhaps a parliamentary monarchy and whatnot. But the new czar that popped in there was like, no way in hell that's happening. And just put his foot down big time. But there's Monastir. I want it because it just got taken this week. I was surprised that some of the maps that I have did not show Monastir. And I'm like, holy moly, guys. It seems like it's mentioned every 5 seconds. And there's Lake Ostrovo. We've seen it. But I just wanted to, oh, actually, I'll get rid of me so you can see a bit more. There we go. And hopefully that'll help. There we go. I just wanted a little bit more of a context so we can start seeing some of the stuff. Okay, we better start getting into the reality bits here. So I'm going to stop that. Stop that. Yep, the rest of it I can just go into the whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys may be able to know. I'm just going to show it very quickly then. Here, some of the stuff that I was trying to find out for the 97th Landwehr Brigade. Like I said, it was really difficult for me. I'm not sure if I don't think Landsturm and Landwehr are the same things. Salonika seems like a forgotten front. Yes. And certainly damn well seems awfully important, especially when the Greeks come in. It was intended to provide replacements. Anyways, you hear it. I think I found perhaps who they are. I'm not really sure. But anyways, I'm going to stop there. Let's get to the proper stuff. So we're doing the week, the 8th. That's right. Okay, here we go. So now I'm going to start. Here we go for the week that was November 17th to the 23rd, 1916. November 17th, French air raid by Captain Beauchamp in Munich by crossing the Alps and then landing near Venice. And we just read about that, which I haven't done today. Actually, I didn't pop up the daily headlines. I still have to do that for today. End of the Battle of the Somme. And due to the fact that it's the end of the Battle of the Somme, I'm popping up WNNs here. The Western Europeans treat the Balkans with nothing but contempt and ignore it. Yeah, and look what ends up happening. We end up getting a world war out of it. Meandering Mike, since you won, I doubt very much you're going to be taking the electronic version of War Diary magazine. But you could, you have the choice of Hissy Cat's Audible book, thingamajig. I'll give you the coupon code for that, or you can get some tea delivered to your house from Gamers with Coffee. I'm assuming that's what you, yeah, media control, Tolemykus. Remember that the French are freaking censoring the Greek newspapers, for God's sakes. That's just mind-boggling. Yeah, it's just, yeah, this blows me away. Anyways, here we go. End of the Battle of Targu-Jui, where the Germans break the Romanian front. British capture Cavacli on the left bank of the Struma. Suez is bombed. Allied water pipe reaches Romani. I remember, can't remember the guy's name that was brought in. Remember he had done some work with the construction of the Panama Canal. They brought him all the way up in the Brits brought him all the way up to Egypt and whatnot to start showing them how to make, setting up water pipes and so on and so forth, because that was the biggie. Yes, Gamers of Coffee does deliver tea as well. Raid of naval airplanes and seaplanes on Ostend and Zeebrugge. British food regulations are issued. The food dictator, found out that's what they're calling him this week in the newspapers. Note of French admiral to Greek government demanding the delivery of war material. November 18th, the protests of allies in regards to Poland. Because everybody and their dog knows full well it was like, I mean, they were. I just ordered the book, and hopefully it's going to come tomorrow. The Osprey book, just a little dinky one there on the Polish legions. I was surprised to find out how tenacious the Polish legions were for both sides, and that it's where the Germans were kind of like, maybe if we give them a kingdom and we can pretend like they'll set up a Polish army. Oh, cool. Brian R. Smith says Landwehr were comprised regular army officers, while the Randstrom were volunteer militia and or new conscripts, not yet in the regular army. Thank you for that. I still want to fight, but anyways, like I said, I used them as a like a road bump, and it worked. I was able to get the remainder of the Austro-Hungarian Third Army to nucleate towards Lemberg, and I saved their butts. They actually ended up a pretty damn good counterattack on the Russian Eighth Army, which broke the Eighth Army, actually, which was great. Oh, thank you so much, Corvinus Wargaming. You have no idea how much I would love to find out about the Hungarian 97th Landwehr Brigade. Big time. Because, I've got a T-shirt, I got a bookmark, I want to get a tattoo for them. I've been trying to do a tin whistle tune, the whole 9 yards. Anyways, defeated Germans at Lubembe in German East Africa by the British. USA publishes the explanation regarding U-53. Germans and Bulgarians evacuate Monastir. The British advance north and south of the Ancre, and the outskirts of Grand Tour is reached. Yeah, I got to hustle. I really want to go to your ATA, William Aarons. Retreat of, because I love the German, I like getting a different slant on things. Retreat of Romanians in the Jui Valley, where Germans reach Falasa Junction and the Aluta Valley. Capture of Monastir by the French and Serbians, and advance east and northeast. Germans and Bulgarians retreat towards Prilep. British raid and take Farafra Oasis, about 180 miles west of Aswit. French admiral demands dismissal of ministers of Central Powers and of their allies from Athens. Yeah, it was interesting. Actually, it's not a very big week that was, as you can see here. November 20th, milk and flour regulations issued by the food dictator, by the British Board of Trade. November 21st, Germans occupy Craiova, the capital of Western Wallachia. British hospital ship Britannia sunk by a mine or torpedo in the Aegean. Statement in the British press by Venizelos regarding the Greek national defense movement. Death of Emperor Francis Joseph, aged 86, and is succeeded by Archduke Charles, which he's not very pro-war and a lot more pro-Entente. November 22nd, protest of Belgium and the neutral powers regarding the deportations and forced labor. You start seeing a lot of separate peace feelers from Austro-Hungary now. Fierce fighting north of Monastir, fighting near Orsova along the Cherna River. November 23rd, German advance on Bucharest. Mackensen crosses the Danube at Islats and Simnica. Germans take Orsova and Turnu-Severin, but are repulsed at Slatina in the Aluta Valley, but are able to cross Aluta near Karukla. French and Serbians progress north of Monastir, taking 3 villages. German destroyers raid the English Channel with little damage reported, and the provisional Greek government at Salonika declares war on Bulgaria and Germany, which I thought was kind of whacked. I'm going to go to your ATA. There we go. I'm going to see if we're going all the way down here, making sure that I, way off into Wonderland. I don't know what happened there. Actually, we're doing pretty darn good, I think. So we've got your thing here. Here's William Aarons' ATA. Thanks again, William Aarons. Here we go. It turns out that I had a case of COVID, which we just found out you've tested negative, so that's good. It did make me lethargic, but I was able to do a little translating, so here it is. Little. You did quite a bit, man. Here are a variety of reports from 2 issues of Berlin's latest news. The first tells of the death of the German ambassador to Austria. The second about the appointment of a commandant for the Air Force. Berlin's latest news, a nonpartisan newspaper. You gotta love that, man. You gotta love that. 16th of November, 1916. The German ambassador of Vienna has died. No, Vienna, 15th of November, 1916. The German ambassador, Heinrich von Churchke and Bogendorf, has died today at 5 p.m. in the afternoon at the sanatorium Loewe, where he was seeking to recuperate from an internal ailment, which was an embolism of the lung. Jesus Christ. The Lord von Churchke was once at the summit of the Foreign Service in Berlin. However, he was a less than fortunate figure among the many others there. It was then the more reason for us to be glad when he was called back at last to fill the ambassadorship to Vienna, where he was carefully and with correct instructions aided in making an era of good feeling in the German-Austrian politics. Thus, we sincerely regret that we have lost the sum of his knowledge and experience in such an important post, both for now and into the future days. General von Hoppner named Commandant General of the Air Force, the higher headquarters, November 15th. 15th of November. The growing importance of the air war has made it necessary for the entire air war and the air defense command, both in the field and at home, to be unified into one department. This development of uniformity and place of readiness for our war services is now to be conferred on a Commandant General of the Air Force. Thus, Lieutenant General LTG von Hoppner has been named to occupy this Commandant of the Air Force position, being promoted from his former post of leading a reserve division. LTG von Hoppner was born in Wohlen in the province of Pomerania in 1860 and has been educated in the Corps of Cadets. The course of his military service led him early in his career to the General Staff and the War Ministry. Before the war, he was Chief of the General Staff of the 7th Army Corps, Second Section Chief in the Higher Central Staff, and Commander of the 13th Regiment of the Hussars. During the war, LTG von Hoppner has been the longtime Chief of the General Staff of the Army. Translator's note. The next report is of a letter sent by the Field Marshal von Hindenburg, awesome, to the Chancellor of the Reich about the food supplies available to the war workers in the war industries, above all the providing of fat in the diet. The letter of von Hindenburg to the Reichschancellor, 15th of November. Off I go. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving next week. Happy weekending. See you later, Zoe Dufour. Hope you have a good time. Your Excellency, it is well known the immense efforts that our war industry has put out for the victorious outcomes of this war. The solution of the value of the workers is by this decided, and not by the number of the workers alone, rather before all in reference to the individual worker's ability to perform by receiving sufficient nutrition. The War Nutrition Administration has, in thankful consideration, given additional donations to the cause of the nutrition of the workers. This has become a very real, or not to be, situation for our people and our Reich. It is impossible for our workers to remain capable of performing their tasks if they are not supplied with sufficient fat. It has been told to me that in the coal fields of the Ruhr, not enough portions of fat are being made available to the workers. The letter went on to insist that the farm production of the rural areas had to increase in order to supply more food, fat, to both the workers in the war industries and the soldiers on the front. Berlin's latest news, the 20th of November, 1916. Over 19,000 Romanians have been captured in November. I love it when they get into the theaters of war. Eastern Theater of War, the front of Field Marshal Lieb von Bayern. Nothing special to report. The front of Colonel General Archduke Karl, east of the valley of Putna, in the Giro Mountains, there was considerable activity against strong Russian forces south of the Higgs. Our operation from the end of October in the vicinity of Siebenbergen, the seven fortified towns of German settlements in Transylvania, have been observed to have been taken. There was a withdrawal in the Wallachia region where the resistance of the Romanians has been overcome by the Germans and the Austrians. Our troops have overwhelmed the enemy and taken the train line of Orsona, Craiova, and south of the Broken Red Pass, the trail of Kalamanstri Suici has been overrun. The total spoils of war of the 98th Army in these days up to the 18th of November include 189 officers and 19,338 soldiers captured, 26 guns, 17 munition wagons, and 17 machine guns. Should add that to the tally that I've been doing from the war summary of officers to non-officers. Translator's note, also in the issue of the paper from November 20th, there was a long account of the Battle of Kilimanjaro in German East Africa. There, from neutral country reports, it was said that General Smuts's South African forces were threatening to put the German forces from their base of supply in the region of Mount Kilimanjaro. General Smuts is said to have employed similar tactics of the Zulu chief Shaka, and that the German command was using the fighting strength of their Askari natives to counter those attacks. Okay, I can stop that. I think I can stop everything because I don't think there's anything else I need to really share. Not really. I think I've done the whatever. Yeah, the wartime commercial policy and trade between enemies. It's an article I just downloaded there. I'm going to stop the screen. I just downloaded it due to the fact that it still blows me away that warring parties still trade amongst each other. I remember mentioning to you, I think Charles Satora, like maybe a year or a little, maybe 2 years ago now, it's getting crazy, when I found out that the British were trading to Germany rubber, giving them rubber, and the Germans were trading optics, like, I was just like, what the hell is going on here, man? Like, it's just like, I don't know if it gets to that weird level where Clausewitz is taught, and I don't know anything. These are just things I hear about Clausewitz. I got his book. That's all I know about him. Like, he's talking about that war is like it's a tool of politics. You know what I mean? When it gets to that point where you can use that tool, I'm like, my God, it's almost to that weird thing of looking at it that way of like, yeah, we still got war going on, but we also need to still trade with you for certain items. So anyway, I haven't read the article yet, but I want to start getting into that type of stuff, which I think is totally cool. Now, hold on. I want to get to my, so I'm about to share the after hours thingamajig. And I think that'll be that. Oops. Let me get back to, I got the wrong thing here. Yeah, I can just go straight to the playlist. And it's this one, beautiful playlist. And we are 97. All right, guys, I'm about to, I'll go and hit the, hold on here, I'm going to, there. Okay, we've got it set up. I've got it there. Great to see you again. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week. I don't know what, well, yeah, you guys have your Thanksgiving on a Thursday, so we're all right that way. Yeah, I'm glad to get to pop up with you. I'm just surprised. I'm so discombobulated based on the fact that I had 2 weeks off in a sense of doing it. You think I'd be a lot more prepared, but I wasn't. But oh well. Thank you again for all your contributions. That's it. I hope you guys have a good remainder of your weekend and a good week. I'm about to pop on the after hours show. I'm going to mute my mic and turn into a texter just like you guys. Time off is good. Yes. But like I said, I got to get back into this, whatever. Remember, Meandering Mike, you won. So like I said, I don't think you're going to want the electronic version of the War Diary magazine, but maybe you'll want the audio book, that Hissy Cat, but it's an audible book, or a pound of coffee, or the tea thing there from, oh, goodness gracious me, William Aarons. First off, like I said, I'm eternally grateful for whatever you submit. And if you think I'm worried about spelling errors or whatever, goodness gracious, I understand you're a perfectionist, man, and you're proud of your work, but don't worry about it at all. Okay, but the runner up, for God's sakes, Meandering Mike, is Tolemykus. So we'll see if Tolemykus wants to boot it down. We'll see, but we'll let you guys duke it out. But okay, so I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to go and present the screen. But yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, you guys are like the 1-2 punch, well, 1, 2, 3 punch now, or whatever. So there we go. Yeah, and we're getting up to the 100 thingamajig. Thank you very much, Brian R. Smith, and thank you for finding out the stuff that you did for us. Okay, so there you go. Boink. I'm going to present the screen. Like I said, I'm going to boot. Okay, so that means if that's the case, Brian R. Smith, you would be the winner because Tolemykus is booting it down because he's already won. So that means, Brian R. Smith, congratulations. You've won round 3. And as like I said, you get a choice of an electronic version of 1-year subscription to War Diary. Booted as well, you little bratskins. No one wants a gift. Okay, we'll deal with it next week then. We'll deal with it next week. Oh my gosh. Okay. Here we go. So, boink, you guys can see that. I'm going to turn. There we go. Awesome. Okay. See you later, guys. Oh, the war summary for November 17th to November 23rd, 1916. The scarcity of British shipping is not due to decrease in tonnage so much as to the increased work to be done by the British mercantile marine as a result of the war. To feed and supply millions of men afloat and ashore in foreign lands who are using up munitions of war as well as food on a prodigious scale is a task that only Britain could face. Her gross loss of shipping since war broke out, according to engineering, has been almost 2 million tons with a carrying capacity of about 3 million tons dead weight. A considerable part of this loss has consisted of trawlers and small coasting vessels. Mr. McNamara's statement that the net loss of vessels over 1,000 tons register suitable for foreign trading has been only 2.5%, indicates that all of the vessels in course of construction when war broke out to the order of foreign ship owners have been held by Britain for her own use. Of steamships engaged or partly engaged in the foreign trade, Britain had 4,461 in 1914, their tonnage being 11,040,000 tons. In her yards, there were, in 1914, 858 steamships in course of construction, of 1,006,000 tons registered. Most of them would be available for use by the spring of 1915. Since that time, the larger yards have been very busy with naval work, and only the smaller have been adding to the mercantile tonnage. The total outturn of tonnage for the merchant marine, however, probably averages not less than 50,000 tons a month, and shipbuilding is now to be speeded up. The British Navy is almost twice as strong as it was when war broke out, and the great Clyde and Tyne yards that have been building Britain's new super dreadnoughts will be able soon to turn their attention to making good the shortage in steamships suitable for foreign trade and for transport purposes. On a pinch, British yards can build over 1.5 million tons of shipping a year, and that is more than the German submarines can destroy day in and day out. The shipping situation is serious enough to warrant the adoption of by the British government of vigorous measures to lessen the volume of imports, especially of luxuries. It is not serious enough to give ground for the pessimistic suggestion that the war may be lost by the Allies, or at least result in a draw, because of the failure of the British mercantile marine to do the work and transportation necessary to the maintenance of the Allied armies in the field and the civilian population of Britain. The Bulgar-German defense of Monastir crumbles. The Serbian official report announces a further retirement of the enemy not only in the mountainous region southeast of the city, but also in the valley of the Cerna, due south of Monastir, where the French and Russians are energetically sweeping back the enemy. The defenders of Monastir have again been reinforced, but the fresh troops brought up were broken by the Serbs and their allies on Wednesday and forced to retire to positions on the south and southeast, about 6 miles from the city. Kinali, has been occupied by the victors, as well as several villages farther north in the plain of Monastir, and 500 additional German and Bulgar prisoners have been taken. In the Dobruja, Mackensen still retreats, burning villages as he withdraws from them. In northern Romania, the Russians and Romanians are again on the offensive. In the region of the Transylvanian Alps, north and northwest of Bucharest, the advance of von Falkenhayn continues day by day, despite the most stubborn resistance of the Romanians. The heavy artillery brought up by the Germans appears to be the deciding factor in the fierce battles that have been proceeding for over a month in the valleys of the Alt and the Juil. Bucharest admits further retirements in both valleys. A few more miles of an advance will enable von Falkenhayn to deploy on the plains of Wallachia instead of waging war as he is now doing on 3 separate narrow valley fronts. Romania's hour of crisis will come then. There was comparative calm on the French front along the Somme yesterday. Some German detachments, which had secured a footing in a group of houses northeast of Salicelle, were driven out. The ground recovered during Wednesday night on the outskirts of Prézois, south of the Somme, was not again disputed. A supplementary French report says that the attack on Ablacourt and Prézois was a serious attempt to break the French lines over a front of 2.5 miles. Selected troops to the number of almost 60,000 men having been used, including a part of the Prussian Guard. Prézois was attacked 12 times during the day. Some of the regiments engaged in this costly but futile effort to drive back the French are believed to have lost 60% of their effectives. There was heavy shelling by enemy guns in the valley of the Ancre yesterday, but there were no infantry engagements of importance. General Maurice, Chief Director of Military Operations at the War Office, says, "Our success on the Ancre means that we are not going to give the enemy much rest this winter. Whenever weather conditions permit, we are going to attack and subject the enemy to increasing pressure during the coming months, so as to prevent as far as possible the Germans from establishing themselves in new positions." That is an important declaration of policy from a man with power to carry out the plan he outlines. The British Midnight Report announced the capture during the previous 24 hours of about 300 prisoners and told of heavy artillery actions on the greater part of the Ancre front. The Romanian defense of the valleys of the Juil and the Alt rivers, desperate though it is, fails to hold von Falkenhayn's columns in check. Petrograd announces the evacuation of the village of Târgu-Juili, about 30 miles south of the Vulcan Pass. Here, the Germans have reached the railhead of a line that will, if followed south, enable them to outflank the Romanians at Orsova and force the evacuation of about 4,000 square miles of territory in the angle between the Vulcan Pass and Orsova. To the east of the river Alt, the Germans have occupied the village of Lareski or Larisht, 5 miles north of Kimpelung, which is the railhead for the line serving the mountainous region between the valleys of the Alt and the Prahova. Maps showing the height of the ranges and the gradual descent to the foothills of the Transylvanian Alps indicate that von Falkenhayn's troops are going downhill now and will be in the Wallachian plain after further progress of less than 10 miles. Petrograd, reporting on the operations in Romania, puts stress on the use of considerable fresh forces by the invaders, who are launching persistent attacks. A Berlin official report says that in the valley of the Alt, 1,500 Romanians were captured on Thursday and 600 on other parts of the front. It is added that the Romanian population is taking part in the fighting. This latter statement is probably the prelude to the terrorization of the Romanians after the manner followed in Belgium and Serbia. The reported shooting of peasants working in the fields by German airmen would fully warrant civilians so attacked and taking up arms in self-defense. It is evident from the reports that the people of Romania are doing everything possible to prevent the enemy from forcing his way out of the mountain gorges to which he has heretofore, though, been confined, before the coming of winter makes the supply problem one of life or death and forces a retreat. Frederick Palmer, one of the most experienced of the war correspondents on the Western Front, who has returned to the United States for a rest, says the Battle of the Somme, that is, the Allied offensive opened by the battle, will continue for 2, perhaps 3 years. Staff officers told him they had no expectation of breaking the German lines this year. Mr. Palmer praises highly the British tanks and the aerial service of the British Army. The tanks, he believes, have saved thousands of lives. Mr. Palmer estimates the total casualties in the Somme campaign to date at 1.5 million and predicts the next season's operations on this part of the front will be even more sanguinary. Britain alone is prepared to lose 1 million men, killed, wounded, or captured in continuing the Somme offensive. She will have twice her present gun power in 1917. Sir Douglas Haig's official report issued yesterday afternoon notes the loss of part of the ground east of the hill of Valancourt, captured on Tuesday. The enemy counterattacked in strength and forced back the British along part of the new front. On the north bank of the Ancre, General Haig's army continued to make progress despite heavy shelling, which was directed especially against Beaucourt and Beaumont-Hamel. The German report on the Valancourt affair states that one of the German Guards regiments drove the British back and captured 5 machine guns. This is about the first mention of any British loss, even of machine guns, since the offensive began. The total of German prisoners taken since November 13th is now 6,190. The British Army in the region of the Struma in eastern Macedonia have captured Barakli, a village of about 1.5 miles southeast of Barakli Juma, which was occupied some time ago. Almost all the villages between the Struma and the Sedes Demir Hisar Railway are now in the possession of the British troops, as well as several east of the railway, which is no longer of any value to the Bulgars for transportation purposes. The advance of the Franco-Serbian army on Monastir continues with what an official dispatch from Paris last night speaks of as full success. In the bend of the Cerna, the Serbs captured some hill crests north of Ivan after a stubborn fight and repulsed the enemy's counterattacks. To the west, the Allies took by assault the hill upon which stands the monastery of Yarshorok after a struggle that cost the enemy heavy losses. It is confirmed that Allied cavalry have occupied Negatorin, a road center on the highway between Florina and Monastir, about 9 miles from the latter city. On Wednesday, 400 additional prisoners were captured. There was little activity on the French front along the Somme yesterday. The most notable item of news in the Paris report is that the aviator de Bouchon, after dropping bombs on the railway station at Munich, the capital of Bavaria, in retaliation for a German attack on Amiens, flew across the Alps and landed a few miles north of Venice. He traveled 435 miles during his wonderful flight. French troops yesterday occupied Monastir as a result of a splendid victory won by the Serbs on Friday afternoon in the mountainous region to the east of the city. For some time, the Bulgars there have been resisting the Serbian advance with desperation, knowing that the city could not be held against an enveloping attack from the east. On Friday, after having been forced back steadily day by day during the week, the Bulgars counterattacked, but were defeated completely. The Serbs carried Hill 1212, the key position to the range, after a brilliant assault, and the beaten foe fled northward in disorder. Many machine guns and rifles and numerous quantities of supplies were left behind. Berlin officially announces that Monastir has been abandoned and the new positions have been taken up to the north of the city after the storming of Hill 1212. The fighting that preceded the occupation of the city by the French was evidently not of a serious nature. The Bulgars and Germans withdrew Saturday night in considerable disorder, still pressed on the left flank by the eager Serbs, who continued gaining ground in the precipitous region to the northeast of Monastir. On Saturday afternoon, the Russian and French troops occupied Polivan, a few miles south of Monastir, and their aviators dropped bombs on the enemy camps and bivouacs north in the valley of the Cerna. By 8 o'clock yesterday morning, the retreating enemy had abandoned the city and the Allied troops entered it exactly 4 years after the Serbs had first taken it in the War of 1912 against Turkey. The capture of Monastir is a matter of great importance and opens the way to the reconquest of the whole southwestern Macedonia. Reuters correspondent in Salonika states that the Serbs to the east of the city are pressing on in the direction of Prilep, the key to the entire road system of southern Macedonia. In this advance, which continued throughout Saturday, they took a number of prisoners and occupied several villages to the east and northeast of the city of Monastir. Before withdrawing from the region, the Bulgar-German forces destroyed a great part of their war material. Fires were visible in Monastir throughout Saturday night, and violent explosions were heard before the withdrawal of the Bulgars. If the Serbs should capture Prilep and the Babuna Pass, across which most of the supplies for the Bulgars and Germans in southwestern Macedonia have come from railhead at Veles, complete and irretrievable disaster for the enemy may follow the capture of Monastir. It must be remembered that General Sarai's troops are in possession of railway communications from Salonika to Monastir, while the Bulgars and Germans must haul their supplies long distances over difficult mountain trails. The cutting of the road system by the Serbs at Prilep will force the enemy to draw his supplies southward from Uskub by a mountainous road impracticable for heavy freight. It is probable that the failure to secure sufficient supplies, should the Babuna Pass fall into the hands of the Serbs, will render necessary the evacuation by the enemy of the whole of southwestern Macedonia and Albania, as far north as the borders of Montenegro. Great events are in train in the whole Balkan sphere of operations. Berlin attempts to make light of the evacuation of Monastir, declaring that the German and Bulgar troops withdrew from highly unfavorable positions in the plains where they were exposed to artillery fire from the heights to the south and southeast of the town. It is added that since the opening of the campaign in the Romanian theater of war, the operations there are regarded as decisive, and that the southern Macedonian front has lost much of its importance. Monastir will become at once the provisional capital of the Kingdom of Serbia. While the news from the Salonika front is extremely favorable, von Falkenhayn makes rapid progress in Romania. It is announced officially from Berlin that on Saturday, despite the tenacious Romanian resistance, German and Austrian troops forced their way down into the Wallachian plain and reached the Orsova-Craiova railroad. This indicates a very rapid advance in southwestern Romania. The last point at which the Germans were reported in this district was at Târgu Jiu. There, the Germans claimed the Romanians were badly defeated, suffering very severe losses. Attempts made by the Romanians to outflank the advancing Teutons from the east failed, and von Falkenhayn's troops pushing southward reached the railway at a point about 25 miles south of Târgu Jiu. It is stated that since the 1st of November on this front, more than 19,000 Romanians have been taken prisoner and 26 guns have been captured. This advance in the region of the Balkan Pass has proceeded much more rapidly than that following the Valley of the Alp through the Red Tower Pass. There, the Germans are less than 20 miles south of the frontier. The evacuation of the whole of southwestern Romania as a result of the cutting of the Osorova-Craiova railway will become almost inevitable. The Romanians in this region are likely to withdraw rapidly to the south to prevent an outflanking movement which, if successful, would cut them off entirely from the main armies of Romania to the east and force their surrender. Bucharest announces a victory in the region north of Kipelum, between the Alt and the Prahova valleys. There, the Romanian troops continue to advance, and on Saturday, they captured 4 officers and 80 soldiers, 2 cannon, and other munitions. No denial is made in the Romanian statement of the German claim that they have reached the Orsova railway, although a Petrograd report states that on Saturday, the Romanian forces in the Duil Valley assumed the offensive and carried a series of heights. On Saturday morning, the British forces, both north and south of the River Ankh, including Canadians, advanced despite stormy weather and gained ground on both sides of the river as far as the outskirts of Grandcourt. Sunday night's report from General Haig stated that in these operations on Saturday, the prisoners taken numbered 20 officers and 752 of other ranks. This makes a total number of prisoners captured by the British on the front along the Ankh since Monday last of 6,962. In the German official report of the operations in the Valley of the Ankh, the curious statement is made that cavalry operating behind the British line on Saturday and the enormous increase of artillery fire beginning early in the morning announced a new great attempt to break through our lines. The attempt ended in a sanguinary British reverse and gave them at only a few places and an insignificant gain of ground. The attack, it is asserted, was made on a front of 7.5 miles, and only in the region of Grandcourt was it successful. There's nothing at all in General Haig's report to indicate that the attack on Saturday was of the innate nature described in the Berlin official statement. The probability is that this statement was framed with the object of telling the German people that only a little bit of ground had been lost, although the British attack had been directed against a very large part of the German front. On the French front on Saturday, there was little activity except in aerial operations. On Sunday, the Germans violently bombarded the fort of Douaumont on the Verdun front and the region round about. Aerial warfare grows in volume and importance. On Friday last, a large group of British seaplanes bombarded the electric plants and naval workshops at Ostend and Zeebrugge. The French on the same night raided one of the enemy's aviation fields in the region of the Oise. A combat between the 5 British machines and 8 German airplanes on Saturday resulted in the dispersion of the enemy's machines after the destruction of one of them. In the encounters, several German machines were driven down damaged. 3 of the British airplanes are missing. Italian official reports announced that on the Carso, east of Gorizia, the Austrians took the offensive against the Italian positions, but were driven back in disorder, leaving many dead upon the field. On the remainder of the Italian fronts, operations have been hindered by heavy snowfalls and extreme cold. Some of the highest points in the mountains report temperature of 20 degrees below centigrade. The advance of von Falkenhayn's army of invasion in Western Romania is phenomenally rapid. Berlin states that German troops are now approaching Craiova, the chief town of Western Wallachia, 120 miles west of Bucharest. The Germans have covered almost 60 miles in the past 4 days. The haste shown may enable von Falkenhayn's troops in their race toward the Danube to cut off that part of the Romanian army when has been holding Orsova and guarding the crossings of the Danube in the southwestern region. From the Vulcan Pass on the Transylvanian border, southward to Rahova on the Danube, is a little over 120 miles, while from Orsova, by the route that must be followed to escape the German drive southward, the Romanians will have to march almost 60 miles to Calafat, opposite Minden on the Danube, and thence retire by rail easterly for 50 more in the hope that the Germans will be held long enough in the vicinity of Craiova to permit the evacuation of Western Wallachia. If the Calafat-Craiova railway should be cut by the Germans in a farther advance southward, the position of the Romanian army of Orsova will become perilous in the extreme. How many men the Romanian army chiefs have placed on this extreme western front is not known, but there are probably not less than 40 or 50,000 Romanian soldiers in the entire region that seems likely to be cut off. Should von Falkenhayn reach the Danube within the next few days, these men will have to smash a way across his line of communications somewhere in the valley of the Juil or surrender. There are dramatic possibilities in this situation. Berlin continues to explain that Monastir was of no military importance and that its evacuation became a matter of course after the Serbs had captured the heights to the east of the plain in which it stands, and hence their guns would shell the German positions from the flanks. Moreover, Berlin rejoices that General Sarai, by directing his chief effort towards the capture of Monastir, has made open avowal of the fact that his original plan for joining hands with the Russo-Romanian armies has been entirely abandoned. This absurd belittling of the Monastir victory is hardly likely to deceive the German people. It will assuredly be received with scorn in Sofia. The Bulgars know that they have fought desperately, day after day, for 2 months, aided by their German backers, to retain the city that is now said to be of no military importance. They know that if the Serbs and the Franco-British armies are in a position to follow up their success in the valley of the Cerna, they can speedily render the Bulgar-German positions in the valley of the Vardar untenable. The intense cold that must be borne in the mountainous region north of Monastir may prevent the Allies from at once following up their victory and reaping its full fruits. But it is significant that the cavalry of General Saray's army is pursuing the beaten enemy and taking many prisoners from among the rear guard. The loss of guns and of transport wagons and of munitions has been great, and it would be a matter of little surprise were the Serbs to clear a large part of southwestern Macedonia of the enemy as an immediate result of the recapture of Monastir. King Constantine is not so sure now as he was that the Allies will be defeated in the Balkans. The fall of Monastir has been followed by a royal decree permitting officers of the Greek army who wish to serve Venizelos' provisional government at Salonika to resign their commissions in the Greek army. Officers confined to prison on charges of desertion will now be liberated. General Sarai is determined that the troops of Venizelos shall be armed with weapons to which they've been accustomed. That is the reason behind the demand that the government of Greece shall turn over all spare arms and equipment to the Allies. The government has protested, but it will yield, and Venizelos will be able to equip properly his volunteer army, which now numbers many thousands of men. On the Western Front, there's been comparative quiet for the past 24 hours. The British night report states that 80 additional prisoners have been captured along the Yonk, where the enemy is shelling Beaumont-Hamel and Guidocourt. The French report also notes enemy artillery activity in the region north of the Somme. The capture of Craiova, the capital of Western Wallachia, by von Falkenhayn's army is officially reported from Berlin. It lies about 120 miles west of Bucharest, midway between that city and the Hungarian town of Orsova, which the Romanians captured 2 months ago to safeguard their positions along the Danube and prevent the use of the river for the carriage of supplies to the Bulgar ports on the lower river. It is probable that the Romanians did not attempt to make a stand before Craiova. All the energies of their army chiefs and of the capable soldiers lent by the Allies as advisors are doubtless directed to the extrication of that part of the Romanian army which has been holding the front west of the Dril Valley from the position of peril in which the events of the past few days have placed it. No news has come from any quarter for some time as to the situation in the Orsova district. It is possible that by forced marches and by the use of the Danube for the transportation of their heavy material, the Romanians of the Orsova command will yet be able to evade von Falkenhayn's carefully spread net and link up with the main Romanian army, which is forming between Bucharest and the new German north and south front along the valley of the Dril. Assuming that the Romanians to the west of the line Craiova-Rohova, which will be found in a map published elsewhere in this issue, can extricate themselves from the enveloping German movement toward the Danube, the new line of defense will rest upon the easterly bank of the Alt River, which flows across Romania from the Red Tower Pass to the Danube. The Germans have made little progress in their invasion from the north toward Bucharest. The Romanians still hold Kimpulum, while farther east in the Tomos Pass, the enemy are not yet south of the frontier town of Azuga. The French and Russian military advisors of the Romanian government may have urged the evacuation of Western Romania as a means of shortening the line of defense. Von Falkenhayn is said to have almost 500,000 men at his disposal, but as his lines of communications lengthen, he will have to leave behind a considerable part of his army to guard them, and therefore his striking force will rapidly decrease in strength. It is not men so much as war material that Romania needs for her defense. The German artillery, especially the heavy artillery, is greatly superior to that of the Romanians, and there would appear to be a shortage of shell as well as guns. Romania has no munition factories of importance and must depend for her supplies on what Russia can spare and what the Allies can send her way of Russian transport routes. In the face of the tremendous exertions of two able commanders like Mackensen and Falkenhayn to overwhelm them, the Romanians have put up a remarkable, tenacious fight, which is by no means over. There will be many fierce engagements on the Wallachian plains before Bucharest is reached. Even were the capital to fall, the greater part of the country would still be secure against invasion, for Russian reinforcements have enabled the Moldavian army to expel the enemy from the northern passes. So long as this Carpathian barrier holds, Moldavia will be secure. The Bulgars, who constitute the major part of Mackenson's army of the Dobruja, may soon be needed at home. The Serbs have tasted victory and are not disposed to remain inactive around Monastir. They are advancing towards the prepared position taken up by the Germans and Bulgars 17 miles to the north of Monastir, and are extending their operations into the mountain ranges that stretch easterly from the valley of the Cerna towards the Vardar. The enemy has been reinforced and is fighting fiercely, but the Serbs have taken many prisoners and much war material and are pushing on despite bad weather, which makes both the pursuit and the retreat difficult. London, Paris, and Berlin all report artillery actions of more or less intensity at many points along the front. The weather has apparently improved and aerial activity is general. There have been no infantry engagements on any part of the Western Front since Saturday, except a few trench raids and affairs of patrols. The artillery activity would appear to presage a big offensive soon. The Russian munitions department has been hard hit by another great explosion in a government munitions factory. These explosions occur so opportunely for the enemy that they may, in some cases at least, be set down to the machinations of the German spy system. In the disaster now made known, hundreds of work people were killed and an even greater number injured, among them apparently some British experts. The loss of plant and material must have been very great. It is possible that the recent inactivity on the Russian front may have been the result of shortage of munitions, resulting in part from the explosion now reported and in part from the shipment of war material originally intended for Brusilov's armies going to the Romanian front. The death of the Emperor of Austria will have no bearing on the military fortunes of the great conflict. His demise has been expected at any time for some years past. The man who succeeds him has been seen active service in the great struggle, and it is said by some European writers has shown a disposition to be less subservient to German domination over the military forces of the dual monarchy than the late emperor was. Pause it for a sec. The Earl of Derby, Under Secretary for War, whose influence in the government and among the people of the United Kingdom is great and growing greater continually, has once more emphasized the fact that the Allies cannot entertain any idea of peace which does not give them what they are fighting for. Anyone who understands the temper of the British people, he added, will agree that they have shown no sign of weakening, but on the contrary, are growing more determined to continue the war to a satisfactory conclusion. The Germans, on the other hand, are equally determined. This statement may be regarded as an informal reply to recent assertions that the basis for a satisfactory peace could speedily be found were it sought for earnestly. The truth is that while eventual victory for the Allies is already assured, the Germans do not recognize that their defeat is inevitable and hope by continuing the war indefinitely to tire out France and perhaps Russia. Maximilian Harden, says Germany, is preparing for the spring campaign next year. Part of that preparation consists in making good her failing manpower by enslaving the Belgians, enrolling the Poles in her armies to fight under the banner of a reconstituted Poland, and drafting the German elements of the population of Kurland into the Prussian armies. By these means, Germany hopes to face the constantly increasing strength of the field armies of Britain and Russia, and so continue to hold what she won of the territory of the Allies in the campaigns of 1914 and 1915. Just going to go back up here for a second, because this knocks me sideways due to the fact that this person writing this article here is basically stating what a lot of historians that I've been reading about are saying now. It's like, whoa, that's just amazing. Like right there. I mean, just about the fact that the Germans have already lost the war, but they haven't recognized it yet. And that the Allies are they're not going to go for a settled peace. They want a decisive victory. It's like, whoa, just blows me away. What she hopes to win of Romania during the next few weeks. The capture of Craiova after a short battle resulted from an attack by a mixed force of German cavalry and infantry operating to the west of the town as well as from the north. There is still no news of the Romanian forces in the Orsova district, except the line from Berlin saying, near Orsova, we are progressing. The Romanians are probably falling back by way of the Danube. They're retiring also in the valley of the Alt, but Vienna and Berlin both admit that north of Kipelung, they've been attacking the Teutons fiercely, although unsuccessfully. The news from Romania is serious, but not such as to warrant the belief that Romania will be overrun as Serbia was. The Serbs are coming back with the utmost vigor. Dispatches sent out from Salonika last night announced that on Tuesday, they continued their advance north of Monastir and occupied the village of Budimirstra and the surrounding heights. Besides inflicting heavy losses on the enemy, they captured 5 German officers and 181 men and 300 Bulgars, including a regimental commander. French reports say that the German Bulgar forces are taking up a new position on the heights northeast of Monastir, the nearest point of which is 3 miles from that city. The feature of the British and French bulletins from the Western Front is artillery activity. The Germans hammered the French lines north of Verdun and the British lines along the Ancre. They turned a heavy mortar fire on the British trenches at Cité Saint-Hilaire, wiped out part of the front line trench, and raided the position, capturing 26 men. The British artillery was especially active north of La Bassée Canal, and British airplanes have been extremely active, raiding enemy railway stations and billets. There is still some fight left in what remains of the German force charged with the defense of the East African colony. 400 men with 3 guns and 8 machine guns attacked a small British post in Lupembe, but were beaten off. Later, 2 British columns drove the enemy to the northeast. 47 dead were found on the field, so that the enemy's losses in killed and wounded must have been very heavy. 1 gun was captured. The silence of Brusilov is impressive. The Russian commander, who has wrought wonders in Galicia and Volhynia during the past summer and fall, is probably rearranging his forces with the object not only of holding his gains throughout the winter, but of rendering effective aid to the Romanians. He has plenty of men. His problem is one of guns and projectiles. If that can be solved, he will be heard from soon in an impressive way. Last paragraph. Operations all along the Italian front have been brought to a standstill by bad weather. There's been artillery activity on the Istrian front, but no infantry engagements, save a small affair in the Trentino, an Austrian attack in the Estico Valley, which was easily repulsed. Hope that well, and I hope to see you guys next week. See ya.